Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Bet on Black pitch. Super excited to be here this evening on Election Tuesday. If elections are your thing, hopefully you got out and voted. I went and voted today. It gave me the right to talk crap for the rest of the year. So I feel you don't get out and vote. You can't talk crap about the politicians. So I just reserved my right today to do all the talking I want for the year. So hopefully your candidate is making headway this evening or has already won. With that said, I want to introduce to you this week's founder, Kwaku. Kwaku is with Farm to Flame, an amazing company that I'm so excited to introduce you guys to because it is the first time we've had this industry introduced to the community. So we have a new industry that we're adding to our 10K project portfolio this evening. This campaign is on WeFunder. I'm going to share my screen and show you the campaign page. And congratulations on already getting to almost 50 or a little over 50% of your goal. I'm so excited for you. This is a clean electricity at half the cost of diesel, tackles 4.4 trillion power market. And so the goal is $600,000. As you can see, the campaign has already raised $353,023. Super, super excited. This is a convertible note. There are some investment perks here. You know, I always tell you guys, look through the entire campaign page because there are a lot of time went into creating the campaign page to make sure that everything the founder believed you needed to know about the campaign is here and available for you. You can see the team, and then it's just a lot of information here, okay? So with that said, I am going to stop sharing and I am going to turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I've seen Atlanta here, St. Louis, and many other places where Farm to Flame actually has been and plans to go. So it's great to see you all over the country. That's amazing that I'm now a part of this community. And I'm specifically in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania right now. So Steelers, black and yellow. I'm originally from New Jersey. And I'm going to give you guys basically like a 4-minute presentation. It's a pitch, basically of highlighting our successes, the problem we're solving, the solution we've created to solve that problem, and there's some market traction we have. And then we can open the floor to any questions that you may have. And the reason I want to do it that way is because we actually also have a demonstrational video of how our product is on WeFunder. And so this is just a high-level overview into Farm to Flame. So I'll just share my screen. Can you see my screen? Perfect. All right, so as I said, I'm Kwaku, but you can call me KJ, CEO and co-founder of Farm to Flame Energy, and we provide smokeless and odorless renewable power at half the cost of diesel. So in most of the US, getting reliable electricity is as easy as turning on a switch, but 700 million people around the world don't have access to affordable and reliable clean electricity. And this population relies on expensive and dirty diesel generators for constant power. It costs 3 to 4 times the regular electricity price on the grid to operate diesel generators. The toxic smoke that comes off diesel exhaust kills over 21,000 people per year. And if they can't get their hands on the diesel fuel, they don't have any power. And so we've created the Farm to Flame generator. This is a carbon neutral electricity asset that is just as reliable as diesel, but half the cost, with no smoke and no odor. And this generator is very significant because it has a patented combustion process that I will get into. And we use carbon neutral energy feedstocks such as corn stalks, sawdust, miscanthus, paper waste, and more to generate electricity. And our 30 kilowatt generator can power 3 homes, a commercial building, or a medium-sized farm. And more about this patented combustion process, we have a patented smokeless and odorless combustion process, which allows us to achieve a blue flame. This blue flame equates to high combustion purity, less maintenance than traditional wood chip generators, and increased generator uptime and revenue, which is very important for our biomass to electricity industry. And here's a real picture of the blue flame that I achieved. And here's a picture of the farm to flame generator that I built in 2021 with funding from the US Environmental Protection Agency. And we're cheaper than existing options. We're cheaper than diesel by half. We're cheaper than solar plus storage by 2/3, as the battery paired with the panels prohibits cost-effective 24-hour power generation. And we're cheaper than anaerobic digestion by half. Our generator operates at 14 cents per kilowatt hour. And this is structured just like an electricity bill you receive at the end of the month. And there's no methane, no conflict minerals, and no toxic emissions in our carbon neutral supply chain. And we have a unique fuel processing procedure that allows the smokeless and odorless flame to persist during electricity generation. So we fine grind sawdust sized material finer than flour to achieve smokeless combustion. And here's a picture of our fine grinder, which is in the warehouse right behind me in our Pittsburgh plant. And we also use LiDAR machine learning to assess fuel quality with images so we can remove non-viable components from the fuel, like plastics, glass, and other components that may end up in our waste streams. This increases the fuel stream purity and it increases the generator uptime and the generator revenue. And we make money with energy as a service agreements, also known as power purchase agreements. So this agreement costs the customer 14 cents per kilowatt hour, structured just like an electricity bill that you receive at the end of the month. And they don't have to pay the upfront cost of the equipment, but they experience savings on diesel over a 10 to 20-year contract. This affords us a 2.6-year payback period on the equipment and profit margins of 40%. And the average PPA equals $250,000. And we have over $1.5 million in the pipeline for 2022 to 2023. We're signed into a service agreement with Georgia Pacific, who is the largest wood waste electricity producer in the country, in which we're replacing their natural gas paper dryers with farm to flame dryers using their own waste to create more of their product. So it's also a circular economy. And that's a $1.4 million annual recurring revenue project. And we're signed into a $100,000 power purchase agreement with Think and Grow Farms, a Black-owned vertical farm in Atlantic County for 24/7 power generation. And we're also using this to reach milestones with the Syracuse Center of Excellence, who has funded our previous demonstration unit before we built this commercial one with EPA funding. And we have a great team of co-founders and executives who have built the Farm to Flame generator and have been funded by world-class organizations, including Cisco, the US Environmental Protection Agency, and Georgia Pacific for over $1.6 million non-dilutive. And we have a great team of advisors who have successfully exited over $200 million in their previous companies, selling to BMW, General Electric in the wholesale power industry, that was Mark, Michelin, that was also Mark, and IPO. And so what we're asking for from the Black 10K project community is $150K, and this prize would enable us to install our current 30 kilowatt generator at Think and Grow Farms and allow us to build an additional 100 kilowatt and 200 kilowatt generator. This will create an additional $300,000 in annual recurring revenue to the $1.59 million in existing projects that we already have. And it would be aiding that Georgia Pacific waste to energy project that we have right now as well. And we have an important key hire of a power generation specialist who's going to make sure that our generators are running 24 hours a day, 330 days a year. So that's a very important hire for us. And ultimately, we'll be removing a lot of carbon emitting global warming gases from the atmosphere, over 18,000 tons of carbon dioxide removed from the atmosphere, and natural gas from diesel and natural gas. And this is going to make a large global warming mitigation impact. Thank you so much. if you have any questions, I'm here right now to answer.
Okay, well, very good. That was short and sweet, but thorough. I love it. Tell us a little, Kwaku, about you and your background as the family members are putting their questions in the Q&A section.
Indeed. So this is actually an important one because this is my co-founder, Will McKnight, and we met in Syracuse University. That's where I went to undergrad. I was an environmental engineering major, and so was he. And so that's a little bit about my background. I was in environmental engineering. I actually graduated though with chemical engineering in undergrad. And so I did a lot of research in this actual like room. This was our computer lab, but also in this building. I did a lot of research with different professors. I did research in water chemistry, water treatment. I did research in biofuel making before we started this company. So one of them was actually making biofuels for the transportation industry. And another one was research with a professor from Cameroon, and he had this like shock tube reactor, which basically tested biofuels for the transportation industry, like ethanol based for trucking and the ethanol that we put in our gas pump now. And so I had a passion for this. I also wanted to do water treatment since I was in high school. I always thought there's many areas across India and Africa that need clean water. And so this was a very much of interest of mine. So Will, his grandfather and uncle, patented this combustion process. And when he came to me and said that we could use this for electricity generation, which could really impact areas like Nigeria that use diesel generators for over 8 hours a day, that was a strong interest of mine. My family's from Ghana, which is just 2 countries west of, or 3 countries west of Nigeria. So, this was a strong value, to me. And so that's ultimately why we started.
Very good. And tell me, who is the ideal customer of Farm to Flame? I see you've got the energy company and then also the private farm, but who's the ideal company or customer?
Yeah. So it's ironic because Georgia Pacific is actually they're a paper maker. They make like all our paper towels and stuff. And
Huh.
I saw some people in Atlanta here. Their headquarters is in Atlanta, but they're the third largest paper maker in the country. But paper is actually wood fiber. And so all of their waste, and we have some of their waste in our warehouse right now, starting this project, is wood waste. And so a lot of corporations have different waste streams. Like in the beer industry, they have a lot of like grain waste, and we can use that waste to power their building, um, their warehouses that make these products. So Georgia Pacific is really good at that because they already had a lot of waste to energy, but the efficiency of which they were doing it is not as high as our project. And so that's why they wanted to work with us. The ideal customer for our generator is somebody who's using diesel for over 8, even over 4 hours a day. So when we put down, for example, if we had an 100 kilowatt generator and we had 10 of those at different sites, that is $1.1 million a year in revenue. And that's up to 40% profit margins. So at the same time, if those were all diesel generators, it would be twice that cost. The customer, say if they had a 10 separate 100 kilowatt generators, instead of paying somebody $1 million per year, they would be paying $2 million or over because the price of diesel is so high.
Yeah.
And it's even higher right now, due to the war in Ukraine. That has really raised natural gas prices and diesel prices through the roof this year. Um, Diesel prices are up 78%, and natural gas prices are up 150%. And so we've actually even signed some power purchase agreements this year because of that impact. And people are really needing to switch to a different solution.
Right. So who would be your competitor in this area?
Yeah, diesel generators, but they're
So
not really a
anything, any
competitor.
diesel, there's no one doing what you're doing. It's just the diesel is the competitor.
Yeah, there's not a lot of modular solutions. And by modular, I mean like that can scale for like every homeowner who's using the backup diesel generator or every business. There's solar plus storage, which is actually when you finance it for the company, and the reason it's not able to grow that fast is the fact that it's more expensive than diesel, because solar solar alone only works when the sun is shining, but solar plus storage works 24/7. But solar plus storage is expensive. Solar plus storage is even more expensive than diesel. So we're cheaper than solar plus storage. We're cheaper than another method of biomass to electricity called anaerobic digestion. And anaerobic digestion is using like more like food waste and animal waste. So it's a little bit more messy because there's methane, which is much worse for the atmosphere in terms of global warming than carbon dioxide, and we're carbon neutral. Also, anaerobic digestion produces 7 times less electricity per ton of biomass consumed than our generators. And so there's a couple companies out there who are doing things like that. Harvest Power was one. There was like a larger biomass electricity company um, in the early 2000s, and they didn't do so well because of some of these problems. So we're taking a different route, and getting these systems out that work.
Very good. Thank you for that. Calvin Hicks says, do you see the primary customer being international or domestic?
Yeah, I think both. I think both. So we have Think and Grow Farms in Atlantic County, New Jersey, and that's just one vertical farm that was interested in us. Like through the New York area, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, we've had like 10 different vertical farms reach out to us this year about acquiring our generator. And just like 2 weeks ago, I won $150,000 at a New York State competition called Fuse Hub. And so this was an investment from New York State, where there was actually another past winner of that prize, Tania Pina, and she's a Black vertical farm owner as well. And so we're actually installing our generator. Our plan with that money is to install a generator at her vertical farm, and do a power purchase agreement as well. So there's a lot of vertical farms who are interested. And one reason is because they have a certain amount of waste that we can turn into energy. Like we have our own waste suppliers as well, but they have a good amount. And we're also replacing their diesel generator use. So some of them may be using diesel generators for power because they're remote from the grid. The largest value proposition is in Nigeria. The diesel generator market is $23 billion, and Nigeria spends over $14 billion per year on diesel. So they're the like largest diesel generator user in the world, like larger than the US, larger than India. And so we've had a power purchase agreement signed there already this year. And there's many people who want like over $3 million in revenue worth of generators out there. And even back in 2018, when we first started, we signed a $1.2 million letter of intent before we even had a product with a teaching hospital in Nigeria to replace their diesel generators. And they were spending like $2.5 million a year on diesel to keep their hospital beds on so that they could keep people alive. So it's a really big problem in Nigeria because the grid just doesn't provide enough electricity to like the largest economy in Africa. And so they just rely on these diesel generators to have constant power.
Very good. Elizabeth said, how are you different from the company Zero X Carbon?
I haven't heard of Zero X. Yeah, I have not heard of them. I'll have to do more research into them.
Yeah, Elizabeth, if you want to tell us a little about them and maybe even put their website so Kwaku can do some research on them. Jackie says, as an investor, what a good invention to solve a global poverty problem. Are there any plans to expand Think and Grow Farms greenhouse throughout the country, especially California?
Thank you, Jackie. Good question. We actually do have a 5 megawatt fuel supply agreement in LA, in San Bernardino, California. We just signed that in like May. So it's ironic you say that. And the good thing about that is we have enough fuel to supply 5 megawatts, which equates to $5.5 million in annual recurring revenue. And especially because we can meter back to the grid, we can sell electricity back to the grid at the rate that LA has electricity provided for. Los Angeles, their electricity cost is higher than the average, the US average. Los Angeles for residential electricity is 21 cents per kilowatt hour. And actually that's commercial. Residential is 25 cents per kilowatt hour. Here in Pittsburgh, it's 14 cents per kilowatt hour. Where you guys may be, it may be even cheaper. It may be 10 cents per kilowatt hour. But that's saying like, that's basically saying if here was 10 cents per kilowatt hour and there's 20 cents per kilowatt hour, it's the difference between an $100 a month electricity bill or a $200 a month electricity bill, or 100,000 or 200,000 or a million or 2 million, depending on how much electricity you use. So it's a great area to get revenue in. And once we get our first 10 generators out here in the East Coast, we will want to expand to California. And Think and Grow Farms specifically said when I did a site visit, because we were about to pour the concrete pad to install this generator, I did a site visit out there a few months back, and they said this is the first generator they want, but they're thinking, and it's for one greenhouse, it's for one of their greenhouses, but they're thinking of eventually going up to 10 greenhouses at that one site in Atlantic County, and also using that to expand nationally. And what Think and Grow Farms is focused on is just decreasing food deserts, especially, for underserved communities. And so they originally started in Philadelphia, and they're expanded to Atlantic City. And so that's an area that definitely has scalability.
Very good. Elizabeth answered the question about 0x carbon. They're another campaign that's on WeFunder currently.
Oh, okay.
Jesse says, is there an option to purchase the unit outright?
Yeah, there is. So it's better for the customer to it's better for their willingness to pay for them to lease it. But for corporations that are larger, like Georgia Pacific, they actually are able to leverage their own equipment financing so that they can purchase the equipment outright. And so that's good for us because we don't have to pay for the equipment, and they immediately start experiencing savings on natural gas or savings on diesel. And so there's multiple flexible options that we have. But in order to make it attractive for the customers is why we decided to go the route of equipment financing.
So Elizabeth is asking in the chat. Elizabeth, make sure you put your questions in the Q&A, but because I saw it pop up, I'll read it, especially since it's in coordination with what Jesse just asked. How much is a unit? So if I wanted to buy a unit outright, how much is it?
Good question. So it's $2,500 per kilowatt. And so basically you can multiply that by the size of your generator. How many kilowatts of a generator do you need? So if you need an 100 kilowatt generator and it costs $2,500 per kilowatt, it's $250,000 for that generator. Now with equipment financing, we only have to pay 15% of that up front, and then we pay the rest monthly over a 60-month lease, a 5-year lease. So 15% of 250,000, it's like somewhere in the 30,000 or almost $40,000 up front. And then we just pay $10,000 a month. Well, that's what we get in revenue. We actually only pay $3,000 a month for the equipment financing until the lease is up. So yeah, it's a good model because you don't have to pay all that up front. But if you did want to buy it outright, it's 100 kilowatt generator is $250,000.
Very good. Jesse says, as a service model and you supply equipment, etc., what are minimum daily requirements for you to install?
Minimum daily requirements? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So it all depends on the customer. It all depends on the customer. So they have a certain electricity amount that they need. Think and Grow Farms, they need 30 kilowatts and they need 10 like base load and then 30 peak. So we'll provide them a 30 kilowatt generator. We'll provide it to them at a set voltage that they can use for their equipment, whether it be 120 volts or 240 volts. So they can use that for their LED lights to grow their food and their drip irrigation pumps to grow their food. They need to have a water supply so they can continuously supply water to the generator because we're using steam to drive a generator to generate electricity. And so they basically need a water supply and they need the space to be able to hold the generator, which fits into a 20-foot shipping container. And so they just need a space for that and another space for an identical container for fuel storage. So they need space for 2 of these containers and a water supply.
Okay. Jesse said, are the machines made and manufactured and assembled in the US?
Yep, we make them all at this warehouse. So all of them are made in Pittsburgh, and we'll have additional warehouses where we make them in the future.
Good. Jessica says, when does the campaign close?
Yeah, so right now it's scheduled to close. We're trying to close the first tranche on the 21st. So there's just a few days left to go in, and we'll keep everybody updated with that as it closes. But yeah, we have just a couple days.
So that's a good question, Jessica. So November 21st is when it closes. Can you give us some more details of the convertible note?
Yeah, it's an $8 million pre-money valuation cap. So that's a valuation cap, and it's a 20% discount into the next round. And there's a converts at $1 million raised in the price round.
Okay.
And so yeah, those are the main terms.
Good. Calvin said, outside of funding, what would you consider to be your biggest challenge?
Good question, Calvin. I was saying this. I was saying this to somebody today, and an important challenge for us is just making sure that we're able to keep up with the demand. And so we understand that our demand is going to get pretty intense soon. Like once we do this demonstration of this generator, and really, I mean, beyond that, once the middle of December hits, we're going into the second phase of our agreement with Georgia Pacific, which is going as a $2 million per year energy service agreement. And so we need to start getting this equipment for them. We need to get equipment to process 30 tons per day of their waste and to be able to turn that into process heat at a site for them in Oregon, at a paper mill in Oregon. So just making sure that we have the right relationships with all our suppliers for the equipment and that we can just get the talent in on time is the project management aspect that I'm looking at next. And so I actually just 2 days ago, my supplier for that fine grinder that you've seen on that slide about the fuel processing, she reached back out to me because she saw we won that Fuse Hub award, and it was actually perfect timing because we need to start planning for our next project with Georgia Pacific. So we're looking to order actually 3 of those, but like twice the size of those. So it's twice the size of that fine grinder, but 3 of them. Twice the size, I said twice the output of fuel. And so that is an area. It's just making sure that we have all our relationships in line to meet the demand.
Very good. What's your exit plan?
Yeah, good question. So if the market conditions are favorable, we would like to have an initial public offering, whether it be on NASDAQ or NYSE. But we have our advisor, Stan Fisher. He was a veteran in the software data consulting industry. And his second company actually did initial public offering around 2000. And so we know he has experience with that and he can kind of guide us in that way. And once we get to 40 megawatts, which we're looking to get there by like around 2027, 40 megawatts of generators installed basically equates to 1,500 of the 30 kilowatt generators, or 150 of a 300 kilowatt generator. But it's just saying this is how much electrical capacity we output to the world with these generators. And so that's 40 megawatts. That's around $30 million annual recurring revenue. And that will allow us to have an opportunity to go public. And even at that, we can also look at acquisitions from power companies who are interested in what we're doing. Georgia Pacific themselves has a venture arm who we've already spoken to, and they've been excited even beyond what we can do for them. They've been excited about the projects we were talking about in Nigeria. So that, is very encouraging. And honestly, with Georgia Pacific, I mentioned that it's a $2 million per year agreement at 1 mil, but Georgia Pacific has 180 mills around the world between Northern America, Southern America, and Europe. And even if we got a quarter of those converted to farm to flame paper dryers instead of natural gas, we would do over 60 million in revenue. So even just really focusing on the value with this relationship with Georgia Pacific is very important for us.
Very good. Very, very good. William said, is this fully patented? Is this product fully patented by your company?
Yes. So we have exclusive rights to this patent. And this is something that actually helped us win the grant from the EPA. But it's right there. Yeah, the main focus is the carbon monoxide emissions. And this is what makes us like better than a lot of regular wood chip generators, even some of the ones that are currently used by corporations like JP, because we have low carbon monoxide emissions. Carbon monoxide means you have smoke. So the smoke that comes off diesel exhaust is carbon monoxide, or the smoke that will come off inefficient biomass generator is carbon monoxide. And typically for biomass, it's 300 parts per million. That's the concentration. And we've got under 50 parts per million. And so I think that's why the EPA liked what we were doing. They saw it was very clean burning. And also beyond clean burning, it has a high efficiency, which means for the same amount of fuel that you burn, you're getting out more heat. So you're getting basically more bang for your buck. And you're producing less ash, less unburned carbon, so there's less maintenance that's needed on the generator. So those are the main benefits behind the patent, and that's the real reason we started the company. Just knowing that we can run these generators for 95% of the year, when other biomass generators are only running for 75% of the year. And so that's what in the energy industry we call a capacity factor, like how long can it run per year. And that's good too. Like wind alone, wind without storage only has a 40% capacity factor. Same with solar. So this is like a very much like a solution that can like right now have a lot of impact.
Very good. Are there any additional questions? Those are great questions this evening, guys. Any additional questions? I have a question. Why did you want to come to the 10K project with assistance for raising capital?
Well, I just saw that this is a great community. And when you reached out to me and explained the model of this, I was just like, it makes so much sense because there's so many people like us who just don't have access to the traditional routes of funding. And you look around and really ask, like, after a while, like, is it messed up? Is it kind of, and in some ways it is, in some ways it's not. But, I understand that there's a strong support around this community. And, we were also finalists in Pharrell Williams Black Ambition Prize. And that was, a very key motivator to me as well. And we're actually even still doing ongoing diligence with that process. But we understand that, we have a lot of support from our community, and we want to continue growing with our community. So these are the people that we want to be involved, that are our earliest stage, like when we have a valuation under 30 million, because we want you guys to grow with us, and we want to also create generational wealth, you know, for people like us who have been underrepresented, and that's the whole core concept of our business. So it just makes sense.
Very good. Well, we are so excited that you came to tell us all about what you guys are doing at Farm to Flame. And actually, Jackie said already invested. So very good, Jackie.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Very, very good. Any additional questions? You know, I'm excited about this campaign for so many reasons, but mainly because we don't have an energy company in our 10K portfolio, right? And I consider our 10K portfolio all of the companies we presented to the investor community to potentially invest in. We don't have anything like this in our portfolio.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of Black energy founders, let alone Black clean energy founders. Like I can name on my hand all of them, like on
Wow.
2 hands. So yeah.
Yeah, I love this. I love that you found passion in something so unique, and you know, went straight into solving a problem that's a big problem, right? And it's a problem that covers all of humanity, right? And so I just this is amazing, and the fact that you already have something built, and you've got a warehouse where you're building, you know, that this is not just ideation. So it tells me you've put the work in, like you have an actual product that you are able, and customers, and so I love how far you've gotten with this also in relatively a short time. When you think about it, this is an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations to you and your team, obviously, as well.
I appreciate that. And I want to say too, like I did 2 years in grad school. So a lot of this, like the first demonstration unit I built wasn't in graduate school. And so and then when I got out of graduate school, we just started going at it rapidly. And so well, that was in 2020. And so we're really looking forward to the growth that we have coming just beyond this, especially going into next year, and with this Georgia Pacific project in the pipeline, and the other generator projects we have now. That's the most exciting part to me, because even with our current administration, there's just a lot of opportunity that we have, and we've laid some good groundwork to be able to grow this. We really feel like to a clean tech unicorn. So that is what we're looking at.
Good. We've got a couple more questions. I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrect. LaCour says, are you looking at home units such as backup units?
Yes. So LaCour, if I pronounce it correctly, my apologies. But yes, under 20 feet, which is our current shipping container size, we're going to be doing 10-foot and 8-foot units, which represent the size of Kohler generators that are used for storm response, and also in areas where they're using diesel for most of the day. There's remote areas in Puerto Rico, in Alaska, in Nigeria. This home unit is going to make a lot of sense because they're using diesel generators every day. And so we're looking at smaller generators, and that's also going to decrease the cost per generator because we'll be switching from steam generators to gas. We'll be using the gas that we make in the combustion process, which is a lot cheaper of a system than what we're doing. Is for the technical feasibility that we do the steam system right now, and for larger plants, the steam is actually more efficient. But so that's a good question, and yeah, that is in our plans, and we'll be planning to do that in like early 2024.
Good. LaCour said they're in. So that's good. Jesse says, do any of the other Black energy founders complement each other? So is there an opportunity for collaboration or partnerships or something like that?
100%. 100%. One of them, his name is Joshua Aviv. He's the CEO and co-founder of Spark Charge, and you guys may have heard of them. He also graduated from Syracuse University, so we were in the same accelerator. We still are. It's called Tech Garden. It's in downtown Syracuse, and so his company, what they do is they make EV charging extremely accessible to any electric vehicle owner. So they have a portable charging service. They have this battery that they can bring to your car and charge your car anywhere. So if you maybe just drove to work and you only have 20 miles left in your battery and you're afraid you can't get home, you could call that charging service. It's like $25 a month. And they've already raised like 40 million. They've raised money. Yeah, they're at their Series A right now. They raised $1 million on Shark Tank from Mark Cuban and Lori Grainer. And that's very complimentary because they're batteries. So it's a storage aspect that they're working with, and we're electricity generation. So we are what charge those batteries.
Right.
So, at scale, we can look into a partnership with areas like that. And, that's just amazing because he started that company in Syracuse in his dorm room, and he's just like a few years older than me. And so that is amazing. That's a good company in that aspect as well.
Nice. Jesse said, just read about him 2 hours ago. Wow, look at that coincidence. So I don't believe in coincidences. Look at that, Jesse.
Yeah.
Wow. Jackie says, are you planning to have a warehouse built in California?
Yes. Yeah. So when the time is right, after early 2024, we're going to be expanding another warehouse similar to the one we have here in California. And so that's so we can do the fuel processing there and begin to produce generators out there for their energy market. It is such a strong need because California has all of these forest fires, and a large percentage of them start from the brush that's on the forest floor on the ground igniting because it's so dry, and those cause forest fires. And so with that fuel supply agreement that we have there for that $5.5 million in fuel, 20% of that fuel, so $1.1 million a year, is from the forest. Is from a forest called Idlewild in California. And so that forest contributes to a few forest fires every few years. And so by removing that, we're actually stopping a large problem. The forest fires are a very large carbon emitter.
Very, very interesting. Anonymous says, sorry for the late question, but how much resistance, if any, has been experienced for the fossil fuel players or from the fossil fuel players?
That's a good question. Not much. A lot of people would think there is, but there's really not a lot. And it's because they know that they need renewable companies in their portfolio. Like they just know. Like Shell has a venture arm that invests in a lot of clean energy companies, and they have many of these events that are in support of the energy transition. And so that's a pretty interesting area. Chevron has a venture arm that's doing the same. They'll invest in companies that maybe some of them can support what they're doing. But I saw BP invested in an electric vehicle charging company, and Shell has invested in a carbon capture company. And these are larger Series A investments, like $20 million investments or $10-15 million investments, which is just one round away from where we are right now. And I've been speaking with Shell, like venture executives, for a while, and they're very interested in what we're doing. And so and Chevron too. And so there's good aspects there. There may be some who who are a bit reluctant, but like all the big players, they understand that the energy transition is here.
Nice. Very, very good. Um, just give a summary. Campaign closes November 21st. Minimum investment is $100. Obviously, you could do more based on your net worth according to the SEC guidelines. I've been saying giving the gift of equity, right? So as we get into the holiday season, being able to think about what kind of presents you're going to buy your loved ones. There's no better present, in my opinion, than the gift of equity, right? And when I think of an energy company and getting the gift of equity in a company like yours, that really makes me excited. Like, I hope somebody that's on tonight is giving me a gift, because I would love to be able to have this type of ownership, right? Or potential for ownership, because it is a convertible note, to be able to have this in my portfolio. And think about if you gift this to your children, right? If you gift this to your nieces and nephews, think about what a company like this could be in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And so, it's kind of, I equate it to, those of us whose grandparents may have given us stocks or bonds when we were little, and you go to cash it in, 20 years later, and it's finally worth something. Or for those people who may have had stock in companies like, AT&T or some of those older phone companies. I know that I had an aunt that used to give us that for Christmas. And so think about this holiday season a little differently for those who have given traditional gifts, right? Your grandchildren, your children, your nieces and nephews, they can do without another toy. I promise you, they can do without another toy. I have a lot of kids in my family, and I've never seen them play with the toy outside of Christmas Day. You go back to the house on Valentine's Day, that toy is nowhere in sight. So the last thing they need is another toy. Consider doing something different. Different behaviors will render different results. And so just think about the potential of what something like this could be, and knowing that we got an early seat at this table, at Farm to Flame's table, and think about what that could mean in the form of generational wealth. Now, obviously, I am not a financial advisor. You have to do your due diligence and make this independent decision. I just want you to look at holiday gift giving a different way. Right? Any additional questions? All right, no additional questions. Again, November 21st is the end date, $100 the minimum, maximum can go up to whatever the SEC says your max is. That's different for each of us based on our net worth. Please share this campaign, right? That is the call to action tonight. Share this campaign. We'll obviously be putting it across all of our social platforms, but we need your help. Kwaku and his company needs your help for these last 2 weeks, a week and a half, not even 2 whole weeks, a week and a half of this campaign, to help him get to that goal. I know he said, the call to action for us was just 150, but he does have about 250 left of his goal that he originally set. So, let's share this campaign, make this campaign go viral like some of the other stuff we see going viral, and see if we can help him get to his goal. Kwaku, you want to say anything to take us home, sir?
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything. And I also remember, like you were saying, with nieces and nephews, I told my nephew about this. He's like 8, and he was like, "Are you making infinite energy?" And just thinking about it, it's like we're utilizing feedstocks that are there every year, and waste will always be a problem. So we even had waste management reach out to us this year about our solution, and so we understand that, like, that for him too, and for him, by the time he's 18, like, we have plans to be in a very big spot, and so that's actually our specific goal by that time, is 4 gigawatts of carbon neutral generators, basically 150,000 generators installed, $3.4 billion annual recurring revenue by 2032. And so it'll be good to show him that when he's an adult. But for everybody's children, I actually think that's really important. The best way to teach generational wealth is, through assets. My dad was a business owner himself, and part of what I'm doing is from what I learned. I mean, just looking back, it's just some of it is I just learned it from being around my dad's business when I was a child. So yeah.
Wonderful. Very good. Well, this is very impressive. I'm super excited. Again, to the community members, do your due diligence, but consider adding this business to your portfolio. It is the 10K Project's first energy company that we've had presented to you guys, hopefully not our last. Super excited about all of the amazing founders we're able to bring in front of you so that we can support them and help them get to their goals as they strive to change the world. I see another question popped up. Jesse said, maybe not today, but can we have a session on how to buy for gifts? So Jesse, I can actually answer that question right now. So if the person you're buying for or investing on behalf of is 18 or older, you can open, especially on WeFunder, you can open the account using their information. They become the investor, right? You're just funding it. If they are less than 18, then what you can do is you can invest at a higher amount, right? That gives you the discount. So in this situation, it'll give you the discount upon the priced round, right? I think Kwaku said 20% discount on the priced round, which means that if when the price round comes, if it's $20 a share, or if it's $30 a share, then you would get it for, I don't know why I did that high of math. I know I'm terrible with math. If you, you would get a 20% discount on whatever price it is, right? That's how it works, right, Kwaku?
Yeah.
Whatever the price is, you get 20% off. And then at some point, there will be a liquidity event, right? That will allow you to either earn a return on it. There also will be at some point an opportunity for shares to be sold, right? Or gifted to someone where you would be able to assign those shares to someone else, like put them in someone else's name. There's a process for that when it's equity crowdfunding. I know WeFunder has a process. They have like a form you fill out where you can transfer those shares to someone else after the holding period. So there's a whole process for how it works. But that's what I would recommend. Kwaku, do you have another idea on how it would work to buy or invest on behalf of someone else?
Yeah. You can start your own account. I've had people, do this. Even my cousins who invested, they had an account. Like for my cousin, she had an account set up, and then her brother just used his card information. So you can do it that way as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So if they're 18 or over, you can definitely do it that way. But if they're minors, then you would just invest at a higher amount, knowing that when you are able to transfer, right, then you'll have enough to transfer to the nieces and nephews, to the children, and then keep some for yourself as well. So that's another way that you can do it. Yep. But very good question, Jesse. All right. With that said, if there are no other questions, give you a few minutes. No other questions. Okay. You guys know that on WeFunder's page, if you think of any questions later, I didn't show it tonight, but I typically show it. There's a discussion tab when you go to the campaign link. And the founders, you can interact back and forth with the founders on that discussion tab. It's also a great place to read questions that were previously asked and answered. So that there may be something that we didn't touch on here tonight that has been asked and answered that help you understand it better or make you, help you make a determination faster. But so if you think of anything else, don't hesitate to go to that discussion tab. right. With that said, thank you so much, everyone. Kwaku, thank you so much. Good luck on getting to the goal. I have no doubt that you're going to do amazing things with this company. And congratulations in advance.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, too. I appreciate your time. Have a good one.
Okay, good night.